Hello, everyone. So I had a bunch of notes on what I was going to talk about. And isn't technology wonderful? I had to restart my computer and I forgot to save my notes and they went bye bye. Can I retrieve them? Yeah, I probably could. But um, so today, I'm just going to talk to you off the cuff. I'm going to throw some stuff at you. I'm going to let you decide on what I throw at you. I'm going to ask you some questions probably. Um, and at the end, I'm going to ask you for a big favor. Not real big, it's not painful. Um, just something that, and I'll explain. I'll explain to you. So, anyway, I'm thinking of titling this one, Do We Cause Many of the Problems We Face? Because what I point out, one has to sit back and look at it that way, and I, of course we'll explain. So, a couple of nights ago, I attended a Zoom call with the South Dakota Property Rights Group. There's more to the acronym, but that's what I call them, South Dakota Property Rights Group, and they were talking about. They primarily talked about two things. One was the Summit Carbon Pipeline, and I'm going to get into that further when I talk about is it many of the problems that we cause. And the other thing was flock cameras. And if you're not aware, the AG's office, they obviously have a budget like any entity within our federal government, our state government, our county government, city government. They have a budget. But apparently they signed some contracts worth $300,000 to start having these flock cameras installed throughout many of the cities. There's already some installed in Sioux Falls. I heard there's some installed, like 3 of them in Yankton, Rapid City. I'm sure they are too, and they're not necessarily the same as the cameras that you see, like in Aberdeen at the intersections, that are supposed to take license plates. Now, the flock cameras are to record a bunch of things. And what was pointed out in this Zoom meeting was that what's happening with they're supposed to be used to fight crime is their primary purpose. But what they're, with any technology, there's good in it, and of course there's evil, or it gets abused. And what they're finding out with, not all of them, but what they're finding out is a lot of in law enforcement are using these flock cameras to get license plate numbers, and they can see you inside your vehicle, and they're stalking citizens. They've been used, I guess, to run license plate searches. Of course, this is in the bigger cities. I don't know how much it affects here, but they're being used to run license plate searches. I'm taking this from my notes on people that are participating in First Amendment rights protests. And what was also brought out that only 10% of these cameras are reading, or 10% of the cameras are reading license plates incorrectly. And what they're finding out is, excuse me, they're example, they're reading a license plate. It screws up the read. Somebody in another state, this may have happened, let's say in South Dakota, someone in another state gets pulled over by a cop, and that flock camera that got the license plate wrong, it just happens to match the person that just got pulled over. This, I'm hearing more and more of that. Supposedly, there's 80 to 100,000 of these cameras throughout the country that have already been installed, and it has been brought out. Just statistics are coming out on them that only 10% of the plates that they're scanning have really solved any crimes. So 90% of the people out there that they're taking pictures of are obeying the law, and only 10% are breaking it, but yet they're still invading our privacy. And that's what's coming down the pike now, is that they're being challenged in accordance with the Fourth Amendment violations. We'll see what happens. I did hear that the Aberdeen City Commissioner, there's some slated to be installed in Aberdeen, and the Aberdeen City Commissioners have rejected them. Basically, told them to go fly a kite, and which is a good thing. So we're spending $300,000, and a lot of times, if you'll notice, a lot of times they will tell us that something is good for us. They go out of their way to try to convince us that they are really concerned about us. And so they will install some type of monitoring device, and then it'll get misused. So after that, they talked about Summit Carbon Pipeline, and I'm going to bring this up later because I want to talk some more about Summit, as far as, do we cause many of the problems that we face. Now, with the AI data center in Leola, I am finding out more and more and more every day how much it is compiling our personal information. The reason they're building so many of them in the country, let me step back a little bit. So these AI data centers are storing information, okay? And they're building thousands of them. There's between 4,000 and 5,000 of them in the country already, and they're slated to be probably that much more in the coming years. And I asked one of the representatives, how many are you going to build? How many are going to get built? And he couldn't answer the question. I asked Ben Reed that, and he couldn't answer the question. These data centers are compiling all of your information. I ran a AI check. I plugged in my name in a AI search, and it came up with a lot of stuff. Said where I'm living. Said I was a farmer. It got that wrong. Got most of my military history right. Didn't get all of our moves. Called me a activist. And at the bottom, mentioned, wrote the book. And at the bottom it says, tells me, I don't remember the exact wording. It says, all the information we provide may not be totally accurate. That's concerning. So let's say I go for a job interview, and a lot of these employers now, they have this capability to go in and put your name in and get your background. You probably don't even have to submit a resume anymore. And let's just say that AI tells them that I've got an arrest record. AI screwed up because they're not totally accurate, and says that I have an arrest record. Well, there goes the end of that job interview. But it is collecting. It's this is why they need so many of them, because each and every day they're collecting your personal data, and they need to keep building more because they have to store all this data and give it to whoever wants it. You go to Walmart, go to Walmart online, go to your past order history. It will show you. It shows me. I went in. It shows me the groceries that I bought. I mean, I don't order online, my groceries online. I just went shopping, took the cart, walked around Walmart, went shopping, and I go to the order history, and here it's got the whole shopping list of the last time that I went shopping, and probably other days as well too. But who's getting this information? Who's compiling this information? What is the purpose? Probably to run ads. If you buy a bar of soap, certain toothpaste, they're probably going to inundate you with a bunch of ads subliminally on your phone or computer, whatever you use. It is the primary I'm sorry if it hurts the feelings of those people that want it. And there are people that want these. It is collecting your personal data from your phone. Question is, hospital records. How much, our hospital records are supposed to be under HIPAA laws, is supposed to be sacrosanct. But are our hospital records being divvied out to anybody that's interested? Is there a company out there that wants to know your medical history? I'm just going to throw that out there because it's extremely possible. It is very possible. And so we have the data center in Leola, and I want to show you. First, I'm going to show you a map. Okay, here's the map. Okay, so if you go down US 10 is up here. And you turn on 358th, which is the road that goes to Ipswich. You know where it's at. This is the substation right here. And from what I understand, they're going to build the data center right in this area here. Now down here is the DRAD farm. I hope I pronounced that properly. And up here, where this red pointer is where Jerome Mack went and pulled a trailer house out of a dump somewhere and parked it there. To show, I guess, that he owns that property. I don't know. And from what I understand, DRADS was asked first, since this is their land here. They asked first, were asked first by the AI folks about leasing out their land. And from what I understand, this is from what I understand, from what I've been told, they were thinking about it. They did not immediately say yes. They were thinking about it. Well, at one point, Mr. Jerome Mack over here with his broken down trailer house, from what I understand, told them, hey, if you aren't going to lease the land to them, I'll lease my land to them. And so DRADS, from what I understand, said, well, if he leases it to him, then it's definitely going to go up. Um, and my way of thinking would be, not theirs, I don't know what they were thinking. My way of thinking would be, well, hell, if he's going to go ahead and do it, then we might as well get a piece of the pie, or the main piece of the pie, and let them put it here on our land. And from what I understand, what I've been told, um, they are going to, the number is, I believe, 3 million they're going to get for the lease. I don't know if that's upfront money or if that is going to be the lease of the land for the next 10 years. If this goes through, they haven't received the money yet. I was also told that if they do get the payout, they're going to be building a home near Mina Lake, which they have every right to do. I'm not holding that against them, but apparently they won't be impacted by the data center because they'll probably be living in Mina. Another question I have that dawned on me the other day with Mr. Jerome Mack here, now that he has that 1970s trailer house out there that's just rotting, has his property tax been adjusted? Because now he has a home out here. Before it's just plain old land. But now he has put a home out here. Now, he may argue that, well, I'm not using it. Nothing's hooked up. Doesn't matter. There's a building out there. It could be considered a home. He could be living in there at any point in time. Has his property tax been adjusted? Don't know. Don't know. So we have Jerome Mack, we have D-Rads, and then just to the east, about a mile, we have Wayne Breitag. And I mentioned these three to you because now I'm going to show you some letters. First, I'll show you Derek and Laura's letter. This is, I've got it enlarged as much as possible. If you can't read it, I'll read it for you. Declaration of Derek and Laura D-Rad Land LLC, Project Leola Data Center, submitted to McPherson County Zoning Board, Board of Adjustment. We, Derek and Laura D-Rad, declare the following. We own a residence within a mile of the proposed Leola Data Center to be constructed near the MDU substation on land leased to the data center by our company, D-Rad Land LLC. Through a lease agreement and this declaration, we have waived all objections to the data center location. And this is important. Waiving all objections is important. And I'll tell you why here in a second. We are familiar with the proposed data center and with what its construction and operation would involve, and we have had the opportunity to ask questions about it. We support the construction and operation of the Leola Data Center at its current proposed location near the MDU station. Notice the date here, August 8th, 2026. That is the same date that the AI data center representatives had their sessions in Leola and Eureka. So then let's go to Jerome Mack. Pretty much the same wording. I, Jerome Mack, declare the following. I own a mobile home on land owned by Mack Land LLP within a mile of the proposed Leola Data Center to be constructed near the MDU station. I am the managing partner of Mack Land LLP. Through a lease and easement agreement and this declaration, we have waived all objections to the data center location. I am familiar with the proposed data center and with what its construction and operation would involve, and I have had the opportunity to ask questions about it. I support the construction and operation of the Leola Data Center at its current proposed location near the MDU station. This one, August 9th, day after. But doesn't it sound familiar? Doesn't it sound like the D-Rad letter? Does, doesn't it? Okay, Wayne Breitag. The Declaration of Wayne Breitag Project, Leola Data Center, submitted to McPherson County Zoning Board Board of Adjustment. I, Wayne Breitag, declare the following. I own a residence within a mile of the proposed Leola Data Center to be constructed near the MDU station. Through a waiver agreement in this declaration, I have waived all objections to the data center location. I am familiar with the proposed data center and with what its construction and operation would involve, and I have had the opportunity to ask questions about it. I support the construction and operation of the Leola Data Center at its current proposed location near the MDU station. He also signed on the 9th of August, the day after the sessions. He, too, has a similar letter to the other two. Now, I want to tell you something. Again, all of these people can do what they want. They have that right. They can lease out the land, and whatever else. Mr. Wayne Breitag, I have an issue with him. In 2024, I believe it was around October. Don't quote me on the month. 2024, Wayne Breitag went to the Leola County or the McPherson County GOP meeting. And during that meeting, he gave a dissertation on how bad the AI data center or data centers are. He went through a litany. He had documentation this thick, telling the group there how bad the data centers were. I mean, he was emphatic about how bad they were. Now, people, well, he was so emphatic that I believe at one point Mike Cliffel asked him if he could shorten his speech because it was already into like a half an hour and it looked like it was going to go further. Now, people can change their mind. I am not saying that they can't change their mind. But when you have an individual that stands up for 30, almost 45 minutes and tells a group of people how bad the data centers are, and then all of a sudden he has an epiphany and says that he agrees with the data centers, doesn't have a problem with them. Mr. Breitag, how much were you paid? How much did they pay you to say that? Jerome Mack, how much were you paid to say that? You had to have been paid something. You can call me and correct me if I'm wrong. Mr. Breitag saying you can call me and tell me if I'm wrong. But for you to, like I said, give that speech for 30, 45 minutes, and it was a great speech. You had great information on why the data centers are bad. And now you like them. What a lot of people don't know, do we cause many of the problems we face? Question mark. Those 3 letters I showed you, reminding or telling the county zoning board that we are within a mile of the data center, but we don't object to them building there. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there is a zoning ordinance out there with a 1 mile setback. If any one of these three groups of people would have said, we don't support this, we don't want it, and they're within a mile, then there is a good possibility that it wouldn't have gotten built. Now, the data center probably could have moved the location further away past the mile setback. Don't know if they would have done that. Might have been a lot more expensive for them to run the lines to the substation to suck the power out of it. But all it would have taken is one of these individuals to say no. And at what point, a lot of what I'm going to talk about now, at what point, I mean, everybody has to make a living. I'm not against that. Okay? But at what point do you say no to something like this or to other things that I'm going to bring up for the good of the people? Obviously, the data centers are no good. You want money. Would I have been tempted to do it? I don't know. I can't say for sure. But the first thing I would have told myself is, how does this affect the community? How does it affect the area around me? 3 million? That's a lot of money. Would I have accepted that? I don't know. I would like, again, how does it affect the community? Anyway, data centers. Bad news. Okay. Summit Carbon Pipeline. Here's another one. 2008, little George Bush Jr., in his infinite wisdom, decided that he was going to start ethanol. We're going to extract corn and put it in with the gas. The ethanol technically does nothing for your engine. The emissions aren't really any better. You get worse gas mileage. And yet, many across the country that have ethanol plants in their counties, their states, jumped on the bandwagon and started raising more corn. The price of corn hasn't gone up over the years. It's pretty much the same. But for some reason, over 50% of the crop in South Dakota is now corn. And here's my point. If we didn't grow so much corn for ethanol, we wouldn't have ethanol plants, right? If we didn't grow so much corn for ethanol to give to the ethanol plants, we wouldn't have Summit Carbon Pipeline breathing down our necks, wanting to create a hazardous waste pipeline to carry it up to North Dakota to dump in there, wherever up in the northwest corner of North Dakota, from what I understand, burying it 4 feet down under the ground, susceptible to frost. It wouldn't have been a matter of if the pipeline would have burst. It would have been a matter of when. And wherever it burst, anything within an 8-mile radius of that broken pipeline would be dead. And there were people, including Charlie B. Huffman and Austin Huffman. I brought this up before. Austin couldn't be our state's attorney because him and his dad were going to lease land to Summit Carbon Pipeline. And many others, wherever that pipeline went, not only in this state, but up through North Dakota, we're going to lease land. Again, you do what you need to do to make money. Today's society, people need money. But my question is, at what point do you say no for the good of the community? You've got this money from Summit Carbon Pipeline. You lease out the land, they put the pipeline through your land. And let's say you got a herd of cattle next to it within 2 miles, and there's a leak, and it kills all your cattle. Or maybe somebody's out there cutting some hay or something one day, and it bursts, and it kills them. Is it worth the money? Is it worth the money to compromise and put others at risk? Do we cause many of the problems we face? If we weren't, I know there's going to be some of you out there or some others that hear this that are not going to agree with me, because farmers and others have to make a living. I've got that. I understand that. But again, like I said, the corn prices have not gone up that much over the years. And so you're leasing out your land, and it's a risk to other people in the community. Now, what I heard from Summit Carbon Pipeline on the Zoom call the other night, Summit Carbon Pipeline is being sued by a Texas company for $6 million for canceling contracts. In fact, there are other companies that are suing Summit Carbon Pipeline for broken contracts. Apparently, Summit Carbon Pipeline is now looking to get out of the carbon collecting business. This has been going on for some time now, as I did some research. It goes back quite a while. But they're getting out of the carbon collecting business and are looking into ventures with the gas industry. They're planning to use a pipeline now. President Trump drilled baby drill. So they're now planning to use their pipeline for enhanced oil recovery. So there's a good possibility that we're not going to hear from these people anymore. That the fight with them is now over. I hope. We'll see. Again, you lease the land out. Is it worth it? Windmills. There's another one. We cause many of the problems we face. A lot of people don't like the windmills. Windmills, I will tell you, drive around the country. Who knows? At some point in time, they might have one sitting on top of Mount Rushmore. I mean, might not be possible, but with the way stuff is going now, who knows? Drive up to Washington State, beautiful Columbia River going through Washington State. A lot of that is got windmills on it now. Looks like shit. Windmill farm east of Long Lake. It'd be one thing if citizens of Long Lake or maybe even Leola would get some of the power from those windmills, but they're not. The windmills are pumping their power to other locations. In fact, I had heard not too long ago that either some or all of the windmills there are going to be contributing the power or some of their power to the Ellendale AI data center. These windmills, if you drive by, sometimes you'll see that one or two, three, four, they're not even working. Um, Look at the stories about them leaking oil. The big one out there is they're killing birds, hundreds of thousands of birds. PETA doesn't even care. They don't say anything. But we all know the hypocrites that they are. But we know they're bad. Of course, there's going to be people that think they're okay. Um, but we know they're bad. We know they're harmful. They've got windmills. There's another windmills out in the ocean. They're finding out that the vibration from the windmills is screwing up the migration plans of whales out there. That's why a lot of whales are getting beached. But that's okay, right? That's okay. We have all these problems, but as long as somebody is making some money off of leasing their land for the windmills, that's fine. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter about the rest of the community. Solar farms. Solar farms popping up all over the place. From what I understand, there's a pretty good sized one out by Rapid City. Solar farms do nothing for us. If you, I would recommend if we have solar, then put one on your house. That works better. But then you're going to eventually have an argument. Unless you're self-sufficient, you've got the battery set up and everything else. If you're just using solar to supplement your electricity, I can guarantee you that the utility company is not going to like it and they're going to raise your prices just because you have solar. But yet it's supposed to be cheaper. But we have solar farms out there killing our birds. Some of the solar farms are so big down in California that it has been reported, and I take these reports seriously, that if a flock of birds flies over them, they're toast. Literally, they're fried. Um, they take up a lot of land, a lot of productive land. Could be using that for crops. They're not putting them out on the side of a mountain. They're putting them on flat, good land that could be used for um, products, for food. But somebody's leasing the land and making a hell of a good chunk of money off of it. Do we cause many of the problems we face? I talked to you about Summit Carbon Pipeline. There's other things out there. Meta, or Facebook. I just saw a video this morning. A lady in Colorado, her daughter, our young generation right now, they are so locked into the social media sites, TikTok, and all these others, and they basically are creating or modeling their lifestyle off of what they see on these social media sites. And this mother, her daughter, she was 18 years old. She killed herself. Um, she was on social media on Facebook, and Facebook was putting all. She didn't give all the details, but it was putting out these algorithms, you know, showing all these beautiful girls, and if you don't feel you're beautiful enough, then here's these products we'll sell you. And it was um her daughter was just, and if you see the pictures of, she's a very beautiful young girl, and these social media sites convinced her that she needs help and she's ugly and worthless, and so she took her life. From what the mom said is that the attorney general from Colorado is going to go after Zuckerberg. Um, you can't find that guy enough. He's a uber billionaire. If you're gonna just fine him 10, $20 million, he'll take that out of his wallet and hand it to you. What needs to be done? What needs to be done? One day I hope is that people wake up and they get off of Facebook. You want to talk about a personal data collector? Meta, Facebook, that is one of the biggest data collectors out there. And people, I mean, they post all their personal stuff on there. A lot of it's pictures, things like that. But they talk about themselves on Facebook. I don't have a Facebook account. I will not ever get a Facebook account. But it's the companies like this that are screwing up the minds of young adults and taking your personal data and sharing it with whoever. And we just can't convince Americans out there to get off of it and put this guy out of business. Do we cause many of the problems we face? An honest question, legitimate question. You know, the citizens of the state and across the country are going through a lot. There's a lot of battles going on. Solar farms, data centers, Summit Carbon Pipeline, flock cameras. Now the latest one that was also brought up at the Zoom call is mosques. As you may know, they're popping up in Texas and around the rest of the country, like drive-through coffee shops. They're not good. I can go into more details, but that would be another video. Actually, I do have another video out there on them. But it was discussed at this Zoom call that now they're looking at having one built in Sioux Falls. Imagine that. In Rapid City. Imagine that. That is going to be another big battle that I hope we can win. That's some serious stuff right there. So I wanna bring some stuff around here, change some stuff because I want to show you one more thing before I let you go. I've taken up enough of your time. Let's see if I can bring it over here. Okay, got it. I don't know how many people out there. I mean, that's another issue that we have in the country that's popping up is that not very many people are sociable anymore. There are some generations that still partake in the weekend visits and the nightly visits and things like that. But in for the most part, it's going away. So I don't know how much discussion you have with your neighbors. I don't know how much discussion you have with your family members. I don't know how much discussion you have during coffee sessions. But it's things like this. It's things like this that need to be discussed. I know there's many people out there that don't want to talk about politics in general, and that's fine. I understand. I wish I wouldn't have to talk about politics. It would be a nice burden um, lifted. But with all the things that are going on in the country, in the state, in the county, in the cities, I mean, I could do many more videos on the corruption in South Dakota, um, election integrity issues. A lot of it you probably know. Um, but yeah, I could do lots of videos on that stuff. But I'm not a Rush Limbaugh. I'm not a Glenn Beck. I don't want to devote my whole time, my whole day to creating videos. I just grab the what I think is important and feed that to you and let you run with it. And hopefully you're out there talking. Now the favor I have to ask of you, there is a small group of individuals that are work on election integrity issues. There's a small group in your county, primarily the GOP group, that are working on fighting these issues that we have. Again, there are people out there that want this stuff to come in. There are people out there that are leasing their land to allow this stuff to come in. But the majority of people in the county and the state don't want it. And it is this small handful of people that are fighting for you under the scenes. There's a lot of stuff going on that you're not aware of on how they're fighting these issues. And a lot of times, the fight has to be done undercover, covertly, because the people that we have to confront, people at the county commissioners meeting, people at the zoning boards, people at the city council meetings, they don't want to deal with us, people that are concerned. They get very defensive when you ask them questions. They get very defensive when you throw facts at them. And so, like for me to contact individuals from the zoning board, it's not going to do any good. For me to uh, continually harp to our county commissioners, it makes me feel good when I do it, but they don't care. They're not going to listen to me. Who they're going to listen to is you. That's who they're going to listen to. I don't. You've heard the old saying, "It takes a village." They will listen to you. We need more people. This is what I'm asking. We need more people out there away from this group, this covert group, to let our elected officials know, or unelected official know, like the zoning board, if there's something that we don't want. The more the more people out there, the more of you out there that contact them, the better chance we have of stopping what is bad for the community. Now, I'm going to put up some numbers, phone numbers here. Hope you can see those. The three individuals here on the zoning board, they are very set on voting for the data center. The two individuals down here are working their behinds off to try to not make it happen. The favor I'm asking of you is to call these three individuals up here. You can call the two Mikes, but again, they are trying to stop this. Now, if you want to call them and give them your support or thank them for what they're doing, that would be cool too. But these three individuals up here are the ones that need to have their minds changed. Those are the ones that are not thinking about the community and the impact. Again, there are people out there that want that. They may be listening to those people, but I can tell you it's a small number of people. The majority of us don't want a lot of this. We don't want the windmills. We don't want Summit Carbon Pipeline. We don't want solar panels. We don't want data centers. The majority of the county don't. The majority of the state don't. But unfortunately, we don't have a vote. We're relying on these three individuals to hopefully change their mind. I ask, this is my friend, I ask that you give them a call. A nice call. Just, I'm not going to tell you what to tell them. That's not fair of me. But a lot of them are thin-skinned. A lot of them, if you start off on the wrong foot, their defensive wall immediately comes up, and everything you tell them goes in one ear and out the other. So we need people to call them, to convince them, hey, look, we don't want these data centers because they're not good for us. And point out some facts. They don't like facts either. The more people that we get to call either them or our county commissioners that make wrong decisions, the more we call our state representatives or contact them somehow, the more people that do that, the better the odds are of stopping this stuff. We have a new fight, the mosques. If those get built, I'm not even going to go there. But that's something that the state of South Dakota does not need to get into. So if you would, I'm going to close it off. Stop. If you would, give these individuals a call. Don't yell at them. It won't do any good. We need you. We've got people on the front line working extremely hard for you out there. But the more people that we can get to call them, the better our chances are of stopping a lot of this stuff. A lot of this stuff that, again, do we cause this? Do we cause these issues? Anyway, have a good one. Weekend's coming up. Have a good weekend. We'll catch y'all another time.